Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. I am your host, who is named Chad Kirchner, not Sami Ashasad. But like Sami, I'm here again with my favorites, best Canadian friend ever, and fellow automotive journalist, Mr. Benjamin Hunting. Hello, Ben. Just don't tell Jody or Evan or any of those others I said that.
My lips are sealed. Hello to you, Chad.
Yeah, good thing nobody listens to this, right?
Thanks for coming on. I know that we had initially planned on not having an episode at all this week, but because Sami is celebrating the birth of his new child, everything has gone great. Everyone is happy, and everything is going very well. So that's excellent news as of this recording. But Chad had mentioned that he was looking to get on back on the air with us, and this was the perfect time to do it. So I'm very happy that our schedules aligned and we were able to come together for this bonus baby episode.
Bonus baby, because we're going to talk about babies.
Yeah, well, maybe not, but
kind of though, like kinda.
Kinda, yeah. Well, so this is going to be, it's a bonus episode. It's going to be a little bit different. One of the other advantages of having Chad on this week's episode is he has driven something that I will likely not have the chance to drive anytime soon. And it's a vehicle I'm quite curious about. Yep. And I am wanting to hear all about, Chad, your experiences with the Rivian R2. And if you could tell us what that is.
Well, it is an astromech droid.
Yeah, the R2 units are a little they're getting up there in age.
R2, I'll get into talk about the car in a second, but I went to their facility in Plymouth.
Where?
Michigan, sorry.
Okay.
Gosh, sorry. So they build cars in Normal, Illinois, which is a strange name for a town, but it's the Midwest.
Remember Erie, Indiana?
Erie, Pennsylvania, you mean?
No, there was a TV
Erie,
show
Indiana.
called Erie, Indiana.
Yes,
I don't think it's a real place.
Oh no! Because it was EERIE. It was spelled
yes,
like
exactly.
Erie.
Yeah, and it was I believe it was like mid to late '90s, and it was about a town where weird stuff happened, kind of like X-Files with kids and no FBI.
Yeah, that's kind of how I imagine Normal. So there can't be anything normal about Normal.
Whenever I hear Normal, I immediately think of Erie, Indiana. It's like the two poles of the Midwest.
It's very weird talking to Rivian folks about like their business and R2, because every time I say R2 or every time they say R2, I grew up on Star Wars. Like, I am a Star Trek fan. I've got a Star Trek podcast Ben has been on. You should listen to it.
You should. But, it's called Temporal Investigations.
Yes. Show notes maybe. But every time they mention R2, I just think about Star Wars in my head. And then it's also, they talk about their plans and they'll be like, they don't say like Normal, or they don't say Normal, Illinois. They just say Normal. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we built it in Normal. Like, would you build it in abnormal? Like, it's very, again, none of this really matters, but like, it's just weird. Like, you don't get that when you cover General Motors.
No.
Even though they do build cars in Hamtramck, which is not how it spells, but how it's
and Jeep in Toledo is also
Toledo, yes. Yeah. 1941 Jeep.
I believe is that Jeep plant an old AMC plant?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, obviously, very much modernized now, but I believe originally an AMC.
Yeah,
plant.
I don't know. Is it that modern?
It doesn't have to be, I guess.
I haven't been in there recently, but it's not what you expect. But it's kind of like my home plant. That's my closest automotive plant to where I live.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so I went and drove the Rivian R2. So what is the R2? If you're familiar with Rivian's product line, they have an SUV and a pickup truck. The R1S, which is the S for SUV, R1T, T for pickup truck.
I see a lot of those in my small corner of rural Quebec.
Yeah,
it's surprising. No, honestly, I see more of the SUVs.
Yeah, that's going to be the more popular.
I would think so.
SUVs, yeah.
It surprises me though, because they didn't have an official footprint in Canada until quite recently. So a lot of what was coming over was being imported. I want to say that Rivian was helping with those imports for a while. Like, they didn't actually have franchising here or anything like an official presence, but they were. If you wanted to buy one, they would get one.
They
from
figured
their US operations.
Like, life finds a way.
Yeah, exactly. So I see at least one a week, if not two. I live in a town of less than 4,000 people, and when I say town, I mean like it's a geographical area of, I don't know, many miles spread out, and all. It's extremely rural. The village itself is probably like a few hundred. So they're just coming in from everywhere.
Rivian has a large fan base especially with R1S and T, with sort of the outdoor crowd.
That would track as to why people are showing up here.
Both the actual outdoor crowd and the people who want to LARP as an outdoor enthusiast.
Hey, their money spends just the same.
Exactly. I like a brodozer, and I don't really do brodozery things. But I remember there was a story a couple of years ago. A person in Alaska had bought an R1S and needed to get like warranty work done, and they were upset that like Rivian wouldn't come and get the car. And it's like,
I'd be upset.
But like, you bought it in Washington and you drove it to Alaska or put it on a boat or something. Like,
I guess so. I'd be really curious though to see what the warranty paperwork looks like.
Yeah,
like, what's the verbiage in there?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, if you need warranty work done, like
they should fly in some technicians like commandos and just airdrop them over this small cabin where the R1 is plugged in at all times.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
I was just going to say, like, I've driven in Alaska, way up north in Alaska, in the dead of winter. And it's the kind of place where if you have an ICE vehicle, it's plugged in 24/7 or you never turn it off.
Correct.
Especially if it's diesel, which is what we were driving. But we were up almost at Prudhoe Bay. And even when we got to Fairbanks, you would, no matter where you went, every parking spot had a plug-in so you could keep some type of heater going in your vehicle. So if you had an EV, I would assume you would have to keep it at least. It's odd because when you plug into any type of power with an EV in the winter, some of the electricity that's coming through that plug, whether it's 110, 220, or DC, is being used to heat the battery pack. And that can be a problem. Like let's say it's very cold. Abnormally cold, minus 25, minus 30. If you're plugged into a 110 outlet, you might not actually get any charge on some vehicles because most of the power is going to go to heating up the battery.
Yeah, because you're going to lose some to heat just through
the resistance of the cable. So when all this to say, when you're in Alaska, if you had an EV in the winter, it could never not be plugged in. I don't think.
The other, I haven't been to Alaska. I'd love to go. Closest example I can give to you is last February I was in Kiruna, Sweden, which is about 150 clicks north of the Arctic Circle at Volvo's winter test facility, which is about 50 kilometers or so north of Asherplog. And everywhere you go, plugs everywhere. For engine block heaters. But it was also unseasonably warm, thanks to global warming, climate change. That's a thing. And that was I didn't see any cars plugged in, to be honest. But we're talking like plus 10 Celsius. It was one of the warmest winters that they've had on record, period.
When I was in Alaska, it was January or end of January, and it was minus 57 degrees Fahrenheit cold. And Celsius. They're pretty close at that point.
Yeah.
And so we were driving these Sprinter vans that were diesel, and they've been outfitted with auxiliary heaters for the cab, as well as auxiliary heaters for the engines. And the two main problems we had were primarily diesel fuel is very bad up there because it has so many anti-gel components in it. It's not pure. This is odd. It almost comes out of the pump as a solid. Like it really does not look like what you expect fuel to look like at that temperature. So everything's burning, smoking, etc. It's not great for the cars. But we lost one of the vans because it was left out overnight without being plugged in, and it was completely frozen, even though it had the auxiliary heater and the auxiliary, I believe it was like a blanket that's wrapped around the block.
Yes.
And they can turn that on and heat the block. It would not start. They had to leave it inside a heated warehouse for a week to get it back to the condition where it could start again. So that's how extreme it can be at these temperatures.
Yeah. And in some ways you could make an argument that an EV is probably more reliable in that very extreme cold, assuming of course that you have it plugged in.
Yeah. In some ways for sure. The real issue becomes in extreme temperatures for EVs, the efficiency of the chemical process that generates the power. Right. So we talked about it on the podcast earlier this year, but I had a Leaf that it was cold here, but not super cold. I want to say minus 20 Celsius, which is, I don't know, 0 or like minus 10 Fahrenheit, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's around 10 below-ish, or give or take.
So I had it plugged in I always have. In the winter, I err on the side of caution. I keep the car plugged in, especially since this particular drive, I was heading back to Montreal, so I wanted to make sure the battery was topped up for the trip. And I got in the car, and it put me in a low power mode.
Interesting. Okay.
It wouldn't, which really limited acceleration and top speed, and it kept me there for 40 minutes. And I looked it up afterwards. I get the little turtle icon, I think it is on the dash, and it was because the battery could not warm up to an efficient temperature, and in order to avoid putting extra strain on the battery, it kept you from pulling power at a high level or high rate from it. Now, I will say, the Leaf is the only vehicle I've ever had that happen with, which was very surprising to me. I've never, ever had a problem with very cold temperatures and the performance of EVs before.
So I had a plug-in hybrid 4xe Wrangler one particular winter. Like, we're talking 20 below Fahrenheit, 25 below Fahrenheit. It was really cold. It wouldn't run on EV mode at all. The hybrid system just said, nope. Mm-hmm. Put a warning up on the dash, said, too cold.
Shout out to the 4xe, the only vehicle that has tripped my charger at home and put it into service mode on multiple occasions with multiple vehicles.
I wish it didn't burn your house down. But yeah, I think like EVs in extreme cold are very interesting because they're obviously the chemical process that you talk about. Also, if you're just driving down the highway, down the motorway, a lot of times basically the wind and stuff, like obviously wind chill doesn't affect batteries, but there isn't enough heat, radiant heat, to warm the batteries up. So the batteries will actually cool in extreme cold, even though you're driving down the highway. Yeah. Sometimes again, not recommending anybody ever do anything that I do, but you can benefit from doing harder launches if traction allows, setting the regen to maximum. Again, you typically don't want max regen in low traction situations because it'll actually upset the handling. It'll upset the handling of the car. It can be dangerous. Hard accelerations, anything to like really kind of move the electrons around faster,
stir that stick,
will generate heat.
I also want to say, like, we're talking about very, very cold weather. In normal cold weather, it's not a problem.
If you live in Duluth, like, there might be, you probably want to keep your car plugged in, but you're not necessarily going to run into entirely what we're talking about.
No, here. I mean, in cold weather, most of the time, the worst case scenario you're looking at is a 30 to 40% reduction.
In the range reduction is actually the bigger kind of thing.
And it's the same, all of what we're talking about. Gas engines face exactly the same problems.
Yes.
They manifest differently. And the reason we don't notice them is because we can refuel quickly. Yeah. So fuel mileage goes way down in the winter for cars as well. Gas cars. I think if you go on the EPA website, they actually have a pretty decent page about this because they've tested numerous gas engine designs, and they have a range of which you can expect for gas engines and efficiency and in winter conditions. It's tied in also to, you're using your lights more because it's darker, you're on winter tires, which are less efficient, all of this stuff.
Well, and even things like, even like you don't think about it when you're driving a gas car, but even things like a wet road increase rolling resistance, which hurts fuel economy. It's just that because gas engines aren't as efficient as an electric, a small percentage change is a bigger noticeable number on an EV than it is on a gas car.
And we also never look at our range when we're driving a gas car. No. It's something you check from time to time, maybe. Yeah. But you don't put stock in it. Like,
because you can stop you can stop anywhere. And
it's so funny how we're like, if the range varies from day to day on a gas car, you would never complain about it. But like on an EV car, it becomes a capital offense.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. Like, there's a lot of reasons why. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
For sure.
That doesn't mean that an EV is right for everybody.
No.
Extreme cold, maybe it's not. Though I wouldn't feel so bad about it if I had a level 2. I definitely don't think I would want to live in Fairbanks and only level 1 charge my car.
Or own a Rivian in Fairbanks at all.
Yeah, because there's no way to get warranty work done.
So getting back to Rivian. Back to Rivian. R1 is the big truck, the big SUV.
And that is the very big SUV.
Well, mid-size, quote unquote.
It is technically, but it's a 3-row, and it's a proper 3-row, so it's more...
Not like the Outlander.
Correct. So it's more Grand Highlander / except it's body on frame, so it would be more... I don't want to say Sequoia because it's a terrible car. The GM, like a Tahoe, maybe a little bit smaller than a Tahoe.
I have a funny
Avalon.
Sequoia sidebar if you're interested.
Sure. It's such a bad car. It's terrible.
So before it was the current bad version, the previous generation Sequoia was not very good either. It wasn't as bad, but it was not very good. And when I did the Gumball 3000 rally, 10 years ago now, we had a support team that was mostly Swedish. And when we were in the European portion of the rally, all the support vehicles were Volvo SUVs.
Yep.
And then when they came to the United States, they rented like various vehicles for us. And one of them was a Sequoia. And they would not stop complaining about how terrible it was. I guess it's not sold in the European market.
No,
and they had never encountered it before. And they were just constant complaints about every aspect of the vehicle. And it was hilarious. It was like, wow, we're really tearing this thing apart. You know, like we just take it for granted that there's a Sequoia in the lineup, but they were like, they found it reprehensible that this vehicle was on sale.
Well, and before I get any letters, remember, it's Benjamin at benjaminhunting.com.
Hey, I'm not Swedish. I'm just relaying the Swedish message.
I'm saying, like, if somebody wants, like, if you have a Sequoia, a new one, and you like it, that's fine. If it works for you, that's great. The problems that I have with it is the third row, because they switched back to leaf springs in the rear and a solid rear axle, because it's the same setup as the pickup truck. Because they switched back to that so they could save some money at the plant, you lose all of your third row space. You lose some of your rear cargo space, and it drives worse.
And my problem too with the Sequoia is it's not so much the fact that it exists. Like, I understand there if you really look at it, there are not a lot of body on frame non-luxury 3 rows out there anymore. And
if you want to tow, like, that's kind of that's kind of a requirement.
It's if you're a Toyota fan and you only buy Toyotas, Toyota wanted to be able to present you with this for towing and whatnot. Okay, I get that. But the thing is, it's extremely expensive for what it is.
It is.
And that's a problem, I think, because you could get a Lexus or equivalent. Like, there's a dovetailing, I think, of like low-end LX pricing versus high-end Sequoia pricing, and that or GX pricing or whatever you want to look at. And that to me is a problem.
Yeah.
Because there's no real argument at that point as to why you should stay with the Sequoia.
Right. Well, and then the hybrid in the Sequoia is terrible. Because the hybrid in the Tundra is terrible. Like, it's okay for power, but like
it's very good for. So I wasn't going to talk about it this week, but I just spent last week towing with a hybrid Tundra, and it was quite good at that. Much better than I thought it would be.
Okay.
In fact, I have, and this is another sidebar. We're getting really far from the R2.
This is a lot of sidebars. This is the title of the episode.
Sidebar to the sidebar. So in my driveway, I have a nasty kink that I have to get around because there's a tree in the middle of my driveway that won't be there forever, but is there now. And there's a bush on the other side of that tree, and backing the trailer up beside my garage, you have to negotiate this.
Sure. Okay.
I've never been able to do it in a full size pickup truck, except for EV trucks that have 4-wheel steering, because they're able to shrink the wheelbase and get around the corner. Yeah. Mid-size trucks do it okay. Small SUVs do it okay. Full-size trucks have never been able to do it, except the Tundra. And it did it on the second try, which was amazing. I've never had that happen. So either I'm getting a lot better at this particular backing up, or the Tundra is somehow way more maneuverable than every other pickup truck out there, which it was surprising to me. But
I think it's the former and not the latter. But
I think the power was great. It's not so great off the line, but once you're moving, it's very good.
The power is fine. It's just that
the fuel mileage is really bad.
It's terrible.
It's not even competitive like when it's unloaded.
No.
20 miles per gallon, I think, is like the combined
sticker. Like, that's the sticker.
Yeah,
good luck getting that.
You're 3 miles below Ford's hybrid F-150 at that point.
Yeah, and you'll get the sticker in the Ford hybrid.
And you're only 3 miles above like a 6.2 Silverado, which has like less power.
Right.
So
but has more America.
I got 10 miles per gallon towing, which is very low. Do you know what I got? Do you know what I got in a turbo diesel Cummins 2500 with a heavier trailer? I got
14.
18.
18, yeah. Okay. I mean, but like, that's the diesel. Like, towing is such a diesel thing. Like,
I understand, but still better. That's the best diesel performance I've ever had. I was very impressed.
The Cummins, the folks at Cummins know what they're doing. The problem with modern diesels, gosh, I sound like an old man. The reason why I'd be leery about buying a modern diesel in the year of our Lord 2026 is diesel prices are extremely high.
Yeah, it's a $10,000 option on the Ram,
premium. You're paying
plus
more
a
for the
$2,000 transmission,
and you also then have to shove DEF in it all the time, and it's potentially more expensive reliability wise,
and your oil changes are more expensive because it's like 6,000 liters of oil.
So I know a few people who have like tow Airstreams that either had a diesel and switched back to a gasser, or specifically bought the gasser to avoid the extra diesel headache.
It really depends on your application. I think.
Does.
If you're a fleet manager and you have 6 of them and you're amortizing costs of fuel across like that many vehicles, it really makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
But if you're an individual and you're towing 6 or 7 times a year, it might not make sense.
Yeah. I mean, diesel, like, I'm going to let my inner rural Ohio out, but like, big diesel trucks can be kind of cool, like in a way that a gas equivalent isn't. But when you look at things like just the economics of it, it's like,
I've had good experiences really with the light duty diesels towing.
I love the Silverado with the 3-liter diesel.
Yeah, like, I think, and the VM Motori one for Ram, I don't know how reliable that is, but it was also a good experience to drive. I also think that, heavy duty trucks are just overkill for most people's applications.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you don't really need to worry about this kind of thing. No. Like the fact that the Tundra got 10 miles per gallon. I mean, my dad's 2019 5-liter Ford gets much better than that.
Right.
So it's not a question of half tons being super inefficient. They are less efficient than a diesel engine towing, but again, all about your application.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like you can't take emotion out of a car purchase, but if you could, and you're looking at trucks, like you can save a lot of money by looking at what you need.
You know what? I mean, a few months ago, I drove the GMC Canyon AT4.
Yeah.
And it's all the truck I need. And I was very impressed by it in a way I did not expect to be. That Turbo 4 engine is great. It's the perfect size.
It is.
It does a lot of truck stuff. I wish the bed was 2 feet longer, but other than that, I don't really have a lot of complaints.
Yeah, no, I like, and because those AT4/Raptor/ like, again, Brodozer's trims, they have softer suspension because they need to be able to potentially leave the earth. And that makes the ride quality so much nicer on a lot of the roads around where I live. And I live, on roads that are damaged or destroyed by, frost heaves and the changing of the seasons and stuff like that. And when you get into Michigan, like everything you've heard about Michigan roads is true. I had to replace another tire this spring.
Ugh. My wife's Outback just went in to be aligned today. It was aligned a month and a half ago.
Yeah. So in those situations, like, you shouldn't need a Raptor to drive down, Woodward Avenue, but like it doesn't hurt these days, which is why we need cars with more sidewall. But man, we are way digressing.
Yeah. Let's get back to R2.
Yeah, let's talk about R2. So R1, I guess long story short is the R1 is supposed to be like the hardest core off-roady LARPing version of the vehicle, of their SUVs. The R2, there are certain trims that can do, let's say, 70 or 80% of that, but it's just much nicer,
and it's smaller, right?
Yeah, it's smaller. It's designed to be their volume model. So like, take that for both the positive and the negative, right? Like a volume model has to appeal to the most number of people. Think of the RAV4, right? Like
you have to be pretty good at a lot of things and not really stand out anywhere.
Yeah. And in some ways, it's going to sound very backhanded compliment, but this is very much a RAV4.
Okay.
There are some trims that are a little more off-roady, kind of butch, such as like the BZ Woodland version, not the BZ Woodland, but the RAV4 Woodland edition. There's a performance version, which is way more power than what anybody needs, but there's a performance version.
Does that come with 4 motors like the R1 does?
No, it only comes dual. Dual is the most.
Okay, because I know that we're talking about a company that makes 1,000 pound-feet of torque available in an EV. I think it's something like that.
Yeah, they sell so few of those. They're trying to push the tri-motor now in the R1s.
Am I wrong in thinking they had a quad motor
They
version?
did at launch. Yeah. I
Okay.
think you can still get it, but it's a lot of money. And it's like diminishing returns because you can
Yeah.
get a dual motor setup can get you 80% of what a quad motor can.
Because what happens, and I think maybe some people don't realize this, is acceleration is not just a function of power, it's a function of traction.
Yes.
Right. So if you have a truck which is going to be traction limited to begin with because of the type of tires that are going to be sold on it, like you're not going to be buying a truck that has high performance summer rubber that's very sticky. It's going to be some type of all season tire. And you can have all season tires that are pretty sticky, but typically that's not what's on a truck. So at a certain point, you're going to throw too much power at the traction patch that pickup has, and you can't really do anything about that.
Yep. Tires just spin.
Yep. But you can do a cool tank turn.
Yes.
Can I tank turn my R2?
No, you can't. This does other things really well.
Okay.
So I guess let me go real high level. So R2 is a unibody setup, unlike the others, which are body on frame. It's a unibody. If you look at it from a distance, it looks like somebody took an R1S, ran it through a copy machine at 75% and outspit this thing.
And so they developed a fully new platform for this.
But they did, and I'm telling you right now, it's brilliant. The vehicle itself, pros and cons. Platform itself, brilliant.
Okay.
So they have managed to take, it's hard to describe in words because it's much better visual, but they have removed, they've basically condensed all of they've condensed all the electronics in the car down to a couple of computers, and it's basically using a zonal architecture, which means there's one kind of central computer that kind of reaches its tentacles out to each system, and there's only there's only a couple of CPUs in the entire car that handles all of the work of the car. The Rivian Drive computer, which is sort of their main system that controls everything but infotainment, it's amazing. It's like 1/10 of it's literally 1/10 of the size of the hardware that they were using on the second gen of R1 S&T. It has something like 4 times the amount of processing power. They're using NVIDIA right now for driver assisted infotainment, but they're going to ship their own chip here later this year that does something like 100 tops of edge-based AI processing, which, ignore that part, hey, whatever.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like a buzzword to me.
It is, but 100 tops of processing is nearly double that of what the Sony electric car was supposed to have.
So how does this improve things for drivers?
So how does this improve things for drivers? Well, first off, it improves how much you pay for the car.
Okay.
Because so they were able to remove miles of cable out of this car for the wire harness. The wire harness on this thing, again, you have to see it. It's like a third of the size of the wire harness on the R1 versions. I picked it up. It's maybe just a few pounds compared to 15 or 20 pounds like the R1's wire harness is. They can build the car with less stuff, and when you put less wires in it, the vehicle's lighter. It's cheaper because you don't need as much copper. It's cheaper because you don't need as many different chips with all of that different NAND flash memory that is stupid expensive right now. Consolidating into a zonal architecture, reducing the amount of wiring, increasing the processing power that helps the driver more. I'll get into in a second. But basically, it's an extremely modern car platform.
So it kind of sounds like the R1 was the proof of concept.
It was, and then they updated it. They did the revisions.
And that's rare when you look at, if you look at other quote unquote boutique car companies in the EV space, that's not something that happens all that often. A lot of the times that initial architecture hangs around for a very long period.
Yeah. Lucid, I'm looking at you.
Lucid and Tesla.
Oh, yeah, and Tesla, yeah.
They're not boutique anymore, but they're also notorious for staying the course when it comes to development.
Yeah, Lucid got a lot of stuff right at the very beginning. Rivian did things well, but this is definitely, technologically speaking, this is the most advanced Rivian. And we're not, it is one generation newer by their generation terms, but I would say that it's as significant as Apple going from Intel processors to their own silicon.
Now, are they going to be able to make it matter? All this stuff sounds cool on paper, and it does have tangible benefits, but it's a competitive world. There's a lot of cars out there that do a lot of things.
Yep.
Like, how do you make this kind of stuff matter to people who are going to be buying the R2 or
so
not?
nobody buying the R2 is going to give a crap about the architecture.
Okay.
Just, this is something people think about, right? Unless you're a nerd. But if you're a nerd, you can appreciate the technology that goes into it. The regular consumer benefits is car's cheaper to repair, the car is cheaper to build, and that means it's cheaper to offer the consumer. And one thing that I was really impressed with by Rivian's presentation was their head designer walked around the R2 and pointed out everywhere they saved money.
Huh, that's interesting. It feels very 80s. I like it.
Yeah, even pointed at plastics, like, because we all look for this crap, right? Like, we all look to see where they cost cut. Guy got ahead of it. He's like, we saved some money here. We did this here. Now, what's interesting is some of the areas are very obvious. Like in the R1S, the entire door panel is leather wrapped. In the R2, the top parts, everywhere you touch, is still the soft touch leather wrapping. But down where you don't care, it's plastic. But they were still smart enough to keep like the rubber in the bottom of the door bin so keys and bottles and stuff don't rattle around.
Yeah.
But like, they were able to save money that way. Battery is now a complete structure element of the vehicle. So they were able to actually make the battery the floor of the car. So there's no space in between there.
And that adds lightness.
Adds lightness. They're simplifying and adding lightness.
It's very Chapman of them.
It really kind of is. And they were able to mold out of steel components that maybe they were using aluminum for in the R1. But everywhere that they removed aluminum for steel, it had to have, they still had to net positive something out of it. So either the net positive is a stronger component, or they needed to be able to consolidate several things into one to kind of lower the cost.
Yeah, I was thinking that, typically with steel, that would be one of the advantages.
Yeah. But so it uses a traditional suspension setup. It did some work with the control arms, things like that.
But no air suspension or anything like that.
Yeah, no air suspension in it, which is fine. Hear me out. It's fine.
No, I think it's totally fine.
They did some other things. So like the second row doors in the R1, in order to get the glass on the power windows to go all the way down, they have to do this trick where they put in two pieces of glass and one piece stays fixed and then the other one drops. If you've noticed cars that do that, a lot of SUVs will do that because they can't get the glass to close because the wheel well cuts into the door. So you have to design the glass a certain way. So a lot of cars, you can't actually lower the second row glass all the way down, or if you can, there's actually two pieces of glass.
And do you remember in olden days when they would handle that by putting the glass in the door at a crazy angle?
Yes. Yeah. So R2, they figured out they found a way to do it with just the one sheet of glass. So they saved weight. There's a lot of really going back to that simplify and add lightness. I wish I would have thought of it sooner when I was there, but there are a lot of places where they were able to streamline the production, streamline the manufacturing. There's a lot of stuff that they've brought in-house manufacturing wise. So instead of working with a supplier, they're like, oh, well, it's cheaper for us to do this. And in some cases, it's cheaper to go through the supplier. So they continue doing the supplier. One thing that I was also really kind of impressed with presentation wise was this vehicle uses some unicasting, but they have eschewed the idea of going full gigacasting the way that like the new cheap Ford truck will be, or the way Tesla does a lot of its things.
Okay.
Because making a rear of the vehicle out of 3 different casted components means you don't have to buy these big, huge new machines, these robots to do this. So you can save money and reduce repair costs by not having to buy 2 big, huge, multi-million-dollar robots.
I mean, the repair cost is a major thing.
It is, and when we talk about gigacasting, like the
which for people who are not familiar, it's the idea where some companies have embraced this concept of making one gigantic component as opposed to multiple components that fit together in the chassis of a vehicle, and it's cost cutting in a way. And labor cutting in a way because there's only one production process. There's no assembly. But if you're in an accident, you can't fix it.
No,
like it's too.
You have to replace the whole car.
You have to replace
or half
the whole
car.
Yeah, because it's a load bearing. Everything is load bearing in this thing, and there are no points where like, okay, it's okay if this part's still a bit weak. Like you can't necessarily bang it back into shape, to borrow like an old term,
right? Because you aren't casting. A lot of these castings are out of aluminum and not steel. Steel is reasonably easy to bang back into place, more or less. Aluminum, yeah, you can't. You can't uncrush an aluminum can. Though Ford has done a lot of work in trying to figure that out. So there are cost savings by gigacasting long term, but the engineer said he didn't have the equipment. So in order to do it at the factory in Normal, and I think they're going to be building this in Georgia as well, if that plant ever gets up and running, they'd have to buy a big, huge robot. But then you have to buy 2 robots because you got to have a backup.
That's crazy. Yeah. I wish I was in the robot business.
I was in the robot business.
Shout out to the Subaru robot, Sammy's favorite robot.
Yes. So there's smart ways to kind of do that. Some other examples of things that they brought in house. I mean, even the flippin' demo that they did for us of like the headlights, because these have the dim certain areas of the headlights as the full adaptive driving beams, because Rivian meets the standards for that now, but it's not the same standard in Europe. Like whatever, it doesn't matter. Before, like in order to do a demo, like if they had to go to a supplier, it'd be a couple $100,000 for this demo. An engineer in an Arduino, a $10 Arduino, $15 Arduino in a couple hours had it done for $50. And there's a lot of like learnings from that by bringing stuff in house, by using their own architecture, by
reaching out to people on Fiverr and being like, hey.
reaching out to people on Fiverr. I'm not telling this particularly great, but just understand that they have streamlined an incredible amount of stuff to save money. Yes, they did make some of the car parts cheaper. Yes, if you go digging for them, you'll find them. But I think more money was saved from the lessons they learned from R1 and the streamlining of both production and how to combine multiple, components into one and things like that help lower that cost of that vehicle, because it can't be $100,000 car.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do that. So a couple other clever things kind of before we talk about like the infotainment and the drive experience. The R2 has the rear window in the hatch will drop down. It's power operated like it is on the 4Runner, which is fantastic, but they've got a couple patents on it, but they've been able to completely hide the wiper in the wiper motor.
That's interesting.
But sits kind of down below the glass instead of above it, like on the 4Runner. Really clever. And I love that feature. Like whenever I have a 4Runner loan, I use it all the time. I don't know if it's just because
in my Jeep, the window's always open.
Yeah.
In the back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. And so they did some clever ways to figure that out. Interior. Well, last thing I think I'll talk about in the exterior is when you get up close to the car, proportionally, it looks like it has a really long hood, almost freakishly long. Kind of like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Huh.
And part of that is because they have the largest frunk in this class. So it does have a frunk, and it's pretty big. It's not like pickup truck big, but like it's pretty big. And a lot of automakers, the reasons why they don't have front trunks anymore is because you can either have a front trunk or you can have more interior cabin space. The most out for the interior space. Rivian's kind of like, oh, well, let's do it both. So when you walk up to it, it does kind of have a long hood. It's not freakishly long, but like, again, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And at certain angles, you're like, oh, okay. Like, I don't think it's ugly by any means. I think it looks better in person than it does in photos.
I think it looks pretty good in photos. I haven't seen any angles from it that are strange. Like it seems like you said, it's a 75% version of the R1.
Yeah. They don't have the hood will open up automatically, but it won't close by itself. Just another way to kind of save money. But they're kind of clever in how they engineered the hydraulic, the lifters and stuff on it to make it easier to close and things like that. So they were just really clever about a lot of things, I think.
So what is it like to drive?
So first off, interior space, ample both front and second row. Rear cargo space is less than you'd get in the R1S, but again, think RAV4. like really think RAV4 to drive. So the launch versions of the cars are all the all-wheel drive performance versions.
Dual motor. I'm assuming 600 horsepower. Am I right?
Yeah, close to that, I believe. It's more power than you ever need. It is. It's just more power than you ever need.
And that's what's funny to me about, like, I understand that with this vehicle, the R2, Rivian seems to be going after volume.
It is.
And as you mentioned, and you're not going to do that with the 600 horsepower EV, right? Like it's really the 300 horsepower rear motor, or are they going to be selling detuned versions of the dual motor all-wheel drive as well?
Well, I think that part of the EV difference trademark is you want the dual motor because you want the all-wheel drive. You want an SUV with all-wheel drive. So when you add that second motor there, then you have things that an electrical engineer can explain a lot better than I can regarding voltage and how quickly power can leave the pack and what size, what type of electric motors you have to hook up to that and things like that. So you sort of just get the insane amount of horsepower because that's the only way to make some of this stuff work. So I believe that the regular all-wheel drive is detuned some from the performance, but it's still going to be probably the fastest car that most people have ever driven.
But you're ending up with essentially Ioniq 5N levels of performance, right?
Kind of. I mean, with the performance version, for sure, doesn't sound as good or things like that. Like, totally different thing. But like, this is bigger and heavier and long story. But more power than you'll ever need. What I like about it, the things that I like about it, is it's very well damped. It's very difficult to, especially with a fixed suspension and not air suspension or MagneRide, it's very difficult to get the ride on an EV right when you don't have an adaptive suspension, especially because you have to have stiffer springs to hold the weight of the car up.
Yeah,
because the car is heavy. So there's a lot of ways that automakers are trying to get around doing that. Like, that's the one thing that people that drive like a lot of Teslas, especially older ones, are like, "Oh, this feels so sporty," and it's like, no, it rides like crap because it's too stiff. It's like the Top Gear episode is one of my favorites because it has the S2000 in it, and it's a car that I owned and adored. But Jeremy Clarkson was making fun of the Z4 because it had an American suspension. It's sporty and like it was hard over all the bumps and just terrible. That's really like how you can kind of end up in an EV if you don't tune the suspension right. This is pretty good. A little bit bouncier than maybe it could be, but there's some really bad roads that I drove on, and there's no weird noises in the cabin. There's no crashing through the steering wheel or through the suspension. It just kind of just handles it. Like, it rode really nice. Again, for an SUV, which isn't my favorite type of vehicle to drive in the world, but for an SUV that is an electric. At highway speeds, it's super quiet. I don't hear the wind. Like, there's a little bit of wind noise, I suppose, but automakers have gotten really good, especially the dedicated EV ones, have figured out how to make the side view mirrors not make wind noise. It's almost kind of like black magic at this point.
I mean, that's something that a lot of car companies have difficulty with even now.
Yeah, the ones that like have to really do it. So the dedicated EV makers are the ones that really are taking EVs seriously, have figured it out. And it kind of feels like black magic when you do it. Visibility is pretty solid. If you look at photos or if you look the car up close, the rear windows, like the rear 3/4 windows, look kind of small. I think in the car, I didn't really notice. Rivian does, at least the version I drove, did have side view mirror cameras that are projected in the instrument cluster, like the way that Hyundai HMG cars will do for blind spot cameras and stuff.
I'm not a fan of that. I find it distracting because wherever you project that image, you're pulling my eyes from the road.
Yeah.
Whereas the mirror itself is in line with the line of sight of the road.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
That's fair. I won't disagree with. I won't tell you you're wrong. I like them when they're done well. So like, I don't like the way Tesla does it because Tesla does it the only place they can do it, which is in the center screen. And that's really distracting if you have to look all the way to the center of the car. Then you don't know which side of the road camera it's showing you, things like that. But really high resolution, things like that. Seats, for what little I got to drive it, they seem pretty comfortable without being overly complicated to like set up. Didn't really have a chance to test any of the autonomy stuff. I know that they're working on and deploying a hands-off level 2 system. I haven't got to drive it yet, so I can't speak to that. Overall, I like this car a lot. It's very much a RAV4.
Now, what is would you say that would you say it's very much a RAV4? I get it. What is this up against realistically? Because it's not up against the RAV4.
No,
Just
no.
RAV4 sized things in its price range.
Yeah, and it's the RAV4 because this needs to be the volume.
Yeah, the Swiss Army R2.
Like the upcoming R3 is not supposed to be the volume. The R2 is
Okay.
the volume.
Okay.
This is where everybody needs to buy, and it does everything pretty well. It drives well. The range is somewhere in like the performance. It's 307 miles, 330 on the premium version, and 275 on the base. So we're talking decent for an SUV. We're talking decent range. I actually think the pricing is pretty agreeable. It starts at 45 for the base. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it'll haul your kids, it'll haul your dog, it will recharge quickly. It's a fully 800-volt setup, so it should be able to fast charge reasonably quick. Rivian has their own charging network out there, along with Iona, which is what I would use. I'd use Rivian's. You can use Tesla's if you want to. It has an NACS Sport, but like it's designed to be pretty easy to live with. Lots of the extra front storage space is great. I think the thing looks good. If there's a Rivian to be all things to all people, all things to all men / women, like this is it. And like it's better than Cromulence. Like I think Cromulence a little bit of an a little bit of a, but like it's good. Now, is it great at anything? I don't know.
What would you compare it to? Like what are the vehicles that outperform it?
So in EV space,
Yeah, in the EV space.
so things that I would look at is this is probably the most proper like crossover of the bunch. I know it's not English at all. I just said, but like like the Ioniq 5 probably is a cross shop. Sits a little bit lower, but decent, first and second row, decent rear seat storage. I think that's probably where I would look there. Probably a Blazer.
Okay. That's really interesting. I would not have thought of that right away.
I'm just trying to think of two row.
It makes a lot of sense.
Just trying to think of two row EVs. Blazer, I feel like the outgoing Prologue. Ford doesn't have anything. The Germans, they're all kind of premium. Japanese, like maybe, I suppose the upcoming Highlander, though the Highlander's three rows. Highlander EV. I guess maybe a BZ Woodland, like if you're kind of digging that off-roady kind of vibe.
But we're down quite a bit when we're talking about performance and prestige at that point.
We are, yeah.
Do you think we're going to get a second generation Mach-E?
We should.
That takes it off the plate as well.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, I guess the Mach-E would also be...
Just form factor wise.
In some ways, the R2 is the prologue to GM's Blazer. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, the prologue was a little bit more, like, normal looking.
I hear what you're saying.
Like, kind of a more everyday, like, much more approachable looking, like, just...
Although it does still have the big blocky wheels and the Rivian headlights, right? Like, that's still in the mix.
Yeah, and I think that the R2, like, it looks like an R2, it looks like a Rivian. Everybody's going to know it's a Rivian. You can get it in purple. Fantastic color. It's really, like, it's really good, but, like, if you wanted me to pick, like, one thing that stands out, I can't tell you. Like, it's the same way with the RAV4. Like, you should buy a RAV4. Like, if you're like, I think I should buy a RAV4, yeah, buy a RAV4. I don't.
There's no compelling reason to argue them out of it, right?
No. I mean, maybe if you're looking at like the highest trim levels of a RAV4, because I don't think Toyota does premium really well in Toyota products. I think they do fine in Lexus, but I think like the sweet spot on the RAV4 is the mid spec. But that's going to be the sweet spot on the R2 as well. Nobody needs the performance version.
Yeah.
Because the premium is 450 horsepower. Plenty. You don't need 656 horsepower, right?
Did you mention pricing?
I said the base starts at 45.
Okay.
You can end up close to 60, but like
that's still not bad. Really. Like it's crazy that I'm saying that.
I mean, like again, not really. Especially if you compare to some gas cars. Now, you get to $60,000, maybe you're getting into like electric like GLA or i3X.
I think i3X could be a compelling competitor to this for people who aren't necessarily into the outdoorsy aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And that platform, New A class, is also really advanced, like a proper modern platform. R2 is a proper modern platform. Like it feels it feels like it belongs.
It's exciting that we're getting this new crop of EVs that have aged past the idea of novelty and compliance and are being, developed developed to bring their strengths to the fore rather than just because they're electric. Like, here's an electric SUV has been replaced by, here's a very good vehicle that happens to be electric.
Now, before I get accused of like just loving on Rivian and not mentioning China and blah 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 that like people on Blue Sky like to do,
I don't think our listeners are.
I will say Rivian likes to call this vehicle a software-defined vehicle. I get why they do that because of the zonal architecture and so much stuff can be controlled through software. I don't think it's a true SDV, but what I will say is I haven't talked anything about the infotainment or that software related to that, and I want to.
Okay.
Because
you have to do it lightning round style, though.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, locked and loaded on the lightning.
Okay. A lot more processing power. The graphics look fantastic.
Do I still have to use the screen to do everything?
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
I'm getting ahead of you.
I'm knocking the good stuff out of the way first.
Okay.
The Rivian's approach to interface design is much more clever than Tesla's. It's much more well thought out. Stuff is a little bit more logical. It's a little more friendly. It's warmer. It's more approachable. I know a lot of people like to be like, oh, well, Tesla's hardware, software, whatever is really good. It is, but like this is much more approachable. It feels friendlier. It feels honestly more advanced compared to, let's say, like something that the Chinese are offering. It feels still a little bit warmer and a little bit more approachable, though. Some of the Chinese systems are really kind of crazy in terms of digital systems that are, very friendly and approachable as well. So like there's whatever. No Android Auto, no Apple CarPlay.
Is there a reason for that, or is it just licensing?
I think it's just licensing. Now, RJ says it'll never happen. Who's the CEO? I can't ever pronounce his last name.
I believe I've read some interviews where he's talked extensively about not wanting to give away that real estate to a third party.
Yeah, and I understand that argument. I still think you should offer it, but
you're kind of in the business of providing a product to a consumer base, and what they want should probably trump what you want. Just saying.
Yeah, and completely agree with you. Like, I'm not going to disagree at all. What I will say is that native integrated systems on EVs can communicate better to the car, to know things like battery preconditioning, better anticipated range, better route planning, things like that. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't offer CarPlay and Android Auto as an alternative, because GM's like, well, Tesla, blah, blah, blah. But there are some benefits to not using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I still think you should have the option.
Yeah, let the customer decide. Yep. That feels like a safe way to do it.
The Rivian, the R2, has new scroll wheel thingies on the steering wheel that can be programmed to do a lot of different things. There are people say it's really intuitive. It's going to take you a minute to figure it out because like you can push them in or pull them back like paddles. You can roll them up and down. Like you have to get a photo to really see it. But like there's these kind of just giant like discs on the steering wheel. I'm sure that if I spent a week in the car, they'd actually be pretty cool and like really intuitive. I didn't have enough time to figure that out. Rest of the infotainment though, it's all touchscreen. So like it's super responsive. It looks great. Man, you still gotta like touch a touchscreen to change the temperature, and you still have to.
Yeah.
And I don't love that. Like, there's a lot of things I love about their interface. Like, I do. I think their Apple Music integration is the best I've seen. Like, there's really like, it's so pretty, and it is pretty easy to use, and it's customizable, and stuff is where you think it is. Like, I think it should be. Like, it's probably the best experience that I've had without buttons. But I want the buttons, man.
Yeah.
Mario, especially things for like, so like when we first started the car to drive it, they had reset all the cars, so we would go through the new owner experience. Cool. Power up the car. It asks you to name the car. Then it wants you to go in and set the steering wheel and seats. And like, you gotta use the steering wheel things and the infotainment. And our production car apparently had a bug. So I couldn't set the seats and stuff in that. Like, I had to set it later. And like, it's just,
you should be able to get into a car and drive it within 30 seconds. I mean, I understand they were having you go through a new car setup, but even then,
yeah,
you know, like you should be able to adjust.
I know
important
once you
things
said
like
it,
seat position.
and it's I know that like once you said it, it's probably mostly fine. Like I personally don't change my seat position all that often. I know some people do. Like
I do because this is gonna sound weird. It depends on the footwear I'm wearing.
okay,
Like if I'm in boots, I'm suddenly sitting
fair.
a different distance away from the pedals, and I find I end up
Yeah.
having to shift things around. So
Yeah, the only
winter
time that I've
boots,
ever
sneakers, whatever.
the only time that my driving position changes a little bit is if I'm driving a manual.
Okay.
Because I like my left foot to be able to put the clutch all the way to the floor.
Yeah, I'm always testing out, brake position.
And like that's
that
the
kind of
one thing that's always bothered me about the Viper. Is I could
That's
never
the one thing.
I could never but that's like the one thing I remember is like I could never get my foot to get the clutch all the way through the clutch travel. Like I didn't need to, but like I could never find the floor. And I'm like,
There's a lot of beef going on there in that Viper, that clutch. That's for sure.
So, and you can save your profiles, and it'll cloud sync if you want it to, and like it's fine.
I don't buy a car to cloud sync. Just going to put that out there.
I know.
And I feel like increasingly there is a backlash, not a backlash, but
there
a desire to
yep.
return to a simpler,
there
more
is.
intuitive way to deal with cars.
I mean, Patrick George, who's at Wall Street Journal now, just put something out today about it. Like it's there's a strong desire, and we were talking about this pre-show. Shocker, folks, we talked before we start recording, and mostly about Star Trek. But like there's this pushback. These people are wanting to get physical media again. I mean, like we're going to talk about at some point on my podcast about physical media and the different types of media that stuff comes on, and like there's this strong desire to really kind of disconnect because there's so much surveillance and there's so much data tracking.
But it's also a question of basic operability, right? Like you end up in a situation where you have designers that are designing cars for other designers.
Yeah.
You lose track of the human beings that are driving these vehicles. Yeah. And if you look at older cars that had bad ergonomics because of decisions involved in the car itself. Like the cabin was a certain size. This part was placed here. That's what made things bad. Yeah. Today, when you have a car that has bad ergonomics, it is a conscious choice by the designer.
Yeah.
We're not in a world anymore where I guess in some cases I have been in some vehicles where on the passenger side, there was like intrusion into the footwell from components and stuff like that. And that kind of pushes your feet over. Yeah. But for the most part, you're not in a 911 anymore with your feet crooked from your shoulders to get to the pedals. Like that has been solved. We have figured that out. So when something is distracting, dangerous, or not intuitive to use, it is a choice that is being made somewhere along the line.
What I will say is I don't feel like this system was designed for other designers.
I'm sure that it was designed to save money because you don't have to have buttons, right? Yep. Like that's a big argument.
Oh, for sure. That is 100. I mean, like definitely part of it. And I do understand the argument. I don't agree with it, but I do understand the argument of why have one button that its entire life only does one thing. And it's like, okay, well, that's for some things I can get behind. The volume knob or the air conditioner temperature control, like that's fine if the only thing it ever does is lets me adjust the temperature. Like,
because you're going to be doing it all the time.
Right.
And I hear these odd arguments from designers where they're like, well, most people just set a temperature and then never touch it again. I don't think that's true.
No. I always thought
if you live in a homeostatic climate like in California, maybe that's true.
But I always thought I'd be that person, and then I'll get a press car with a fancy climate system. And I'm still fiddling with it.
Because it's never perfect.
No.
And also like
no, I haven't tried the Mercedes ones that have the infrared scanners that can detect your body heat.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that. The probe that I have to insert.
Yes, right.
It's just climate controls change depending on the conditions. Like if it's really rainy or foggy, I'm going to be doing different stuff.
Yeah.
If it's wintertime, the weather could change a lot just in one given journey.
Yeah.
And you're going to be doing a lot of different things to keep the windows clear, to keep the cabin comfortable. There's going to be snow melt on the floors. That's going to make things humid. You're going to be changing stuff. I don't see the argument that people just set it and forget it for temperature.
Right.
Seats,
well,
maybe.
It's funny though too, because like some automakers for a while have been like, oh, we use the navigation to know which way the car is facing in relation to the sun.
Remember when Acura was doing that in the 2010s? That was their big thing.
Yeah, and like
nobody knew it was a feature, but they talked about it on their advertising.
They sure did. And it's just like, Yeah, but I still have to fiddle. Like I still have to fiddle with it.
Yeah,
and nothing beats just like kind of being able to do that. So,
and just I want to wrap it up, but I do want to say a lot of what we're talking about is these are solved problems.
yeah,
we solved them decades ago, and the
no, I don't
constant
want
desire to be different for automakers to differentiate themselves from other car companies is part of what pushes this as well.
I don't want a 90s GM car though that had all the buttons where the airbag
I'm not saying you have to have that, but surely there's a happy medium.
No.
Why not a 90s German car?
Right. No, so like would I buy an R2? Yes. Do I think a lot of people would get used to the infotainment after a while? Yeah, I think it's pretty clever. I
mean, anyone who's worked a job that they hate will tell you they can get used to anything.
Okay.
Shout out to my entire employment history prior to going freelance.
Not that anybody from Rivian is necessarily listening, but I'll give it a little bit more credit than that. But I would like some buttons. I'd like some more buttons for some things. Now, what will be interesting is that Scout has some buttons.
But Scout doesn't exist yet. That would be more interesting to me if there was a Scout that people could drive, even if in any form. And I don't feel good about where Volkswagen's going these days, so I'm really not sure what's going to happen.
No, I understand that. But I will say though, like if it's a big if, but if Scout gets to where it needs to be, because they're even more off-road focused, more outdoorsy focused, more like, because like, here's the reason why you want buttons. Like the real manly, rural, whatever reason why you want buttons.
Or strong female presenting driver, or teenage driver, or
I'm not trying
elderly driver.
I'm talking about stereotype, like what you see. Not the people that actually go out and do real work. We're talking the people in the commercials, right? Like you want buttons because you use gloves.
Yeah. Or you just live somewhere where there's winter and you use gloves. Right. I mean, come on, guys. It's not hard.
No. And like Ford for a while, though, like was bragging about how big and chunky their climate control knobs were. Because like you should be able to use these with gloves.
I want to be able to use them from the cargo area. Just to reach over with like one of those extendable sticks you get at the dollar store.
Well, nobody buying an R2 is any type of individual that is going to a construction work site that's not the supervisor.
All right, shots fired.
No, I think like unless you're the supervisor or whatever, like the foreman, like you're probably not driving one of these. You might have one as a family car, but it's not going to be your work car. I don't know. I'd like some buttons. I think it's really well executed, but I'd like some buttons. I hope they sell a lot of them because I do like the price-ish, more or less. I think 45 to start. Like, oh, well, China, blah blah blah. Like, well, they don't sell cars here, at least in my country. 45 grand. Yeah, that's still a lot of money, but so's a RAV4.
Yep, it's true.
This is nicer. It's nicer inside. It drives nicer. It's quicker. Has fewer buttons, but like, it's what Rivian needs. It's what Rivian needed to build. Now, what I'm excited for is the R3. Especially if they build the R3X that they teased when they showed the R2.
So it's an even smaller Rivian.
Yeah, it would be even smaller. But again, if they can get the volume here, if they can save their company, this car has to succeed. If R2 fails, the company fails. They know this as well. Like they don't hide it. They know this has to work. But it doesn't feel like a Hail Mary product. Like don't get me wrong, but like they know it has to work, and I think it does. You're not going to go rock crawling with it. You're not going to go to a racetrack with it. But for everything else, yeah, it's pretty nice.
Chad, if people want to reach out to you and tell you how wrong or right you are about the R2.
Benjamin at benjaminhunting.com.
Assuming that mailbox is full. How
Assuming
can they do
that, then I'll give them some PR person's email. No, I'm on Blue Sky at my name, which is at chadkirchner.com.
Kirchner.
Yeah, and occasionally I'll see me at Ars Technica or Jalopnik or whatever.
And you also have a fun podcast about Star Trek that is something everyone should be listening to.
I do. If Ben remembers to put it in the show notes, look for it there. But I just did a big, huge multi-panel recently because we talked about Deep Space Nine, and I had like 6 people on. So, and soon, hopefully, Ben, you and I will be talking about Laserdiscs.
Yeah, actually, I'm in the midst
I bought a
of
Laserdisc.
You did?
I did. I don't have a Laserdisc player.
Well, that's how I started too. So be careful, my friend.
But I had first contact on Laserdisc. I'd show you.
Nice. I have that still sealed somehow. I haven't opened it.
Also bought some classic like games too, like Star Trek games and stuff too.
Which one did you get? I have one for Atari.
I can't find it right now, but it's like Assault Command or something. I don't.
Do you have the next generation SNES game?
No, I've played that. I really want to get back into playing the Deep Space Nine Genesis game, which I think was on Nintendo as well, Crossroads of Time. And I also rebought, because I can't find my original copy of it, but on PC, I rebought the next generation of Final Unity.
Okay.
Which is from Spectrama Holobytes.
Yeah, they did a lot of Star Trek games.
Yeah, and it's a really great game. It plays out like an episode of Star Trek.
So yeah, definitely check out Chad's podcast.
And also, like, if you like an EV, like I do a lot of EV coverage, which is why I talk about it here. I don't think if you don't like the Hyundai products, look at the Rivian. If you aren't quite sure about having no buttons at all, look at a Hyundai product. And that's all I got. How can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky as well at Hunting Benjamin. Email me the old-fashioned way, benjamin@benjaminhunting.com, or go to unnamedautomotivepodcast.com, and there is a contact form you can fill out, and you click it and it sends it right to me and Sami, and we take a look at it.
And I feel like since I did the opening intro, I need to say that Sami's on Instagram at Sami_ha, like you're laughing.
Yes.
And I think his Blue Sky handle is the same there, but he only ever checked it once.
Well, on Blue Sky, on Blue Sky, he doesn't use the underscore; he uses the dash, which is confusing. For everyone.
That is very confusing.
No one understands.
But if he's listening to this, congratulations on the addition to your family.
Yes, very much so. And he will be back next week. I think that's gonna work out. So again, Chad, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Telling us all about the R2, which is not something that we normally get to drive. And hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, that'll be great.